You've probably stared into the night sky and felt it, the quiet, almost terrifying sense of vastness. That feeling that there's more out there than you can ever touch, more than you can ever understand. It's a thought that can make your chest tighten, your mind spin, because it whispers something fundamental. You are small. And yet, in that smallness, there is a kind of intimacy, a connection to something infinitely larger than yourself. You are not alone in feeling that. Everyone, at some point, wonders, if the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? You might imagine a cosmic void beyond the edges of space, a black nothingness that swallows the universe whole. It's a natural image. The human mind loves edges, loves boundaries, loves something to hold on to. But here's the first secret. The universe doesn't expand into anything, because there is no outside. Space itself is stretching. Every meter between galaxies is growing, not because they are moving through some empty container, but because the fabric of reality itself is expanding. That's a concept Richard Feynman spent a lifetime helping people grasp, the kind of mind that could hold infinity and make it feel comprehensible, even intimate. Think about it this way. If you were an ant on a rubber balloon and I started to draw dots across its surface, then began to inflate it, each dot would move away from every other dot. Yet there's no center of the balloon on the surface itself. From the ant's perspective, there is no edge, no outside. The expansion happens in the space between, not into. And this is exactly what's happening with our universe. Every galaxy, every cluster of stars, every atom in you is carried along by the stretching of space itself. You might feel a flicker of existential unease here, because if there's no outside, where does that leave you? How can you relate to something that has no edge, no boundary? This is where the mind does its own subtle manipulations. You might try to create edges in your life, in your relationships, in your self-image, to give yourself a sense of control. You might cling to definitions, labels, or timelines because the universe doesn't offer you one. And yet, just as in space, those imagined edges are illusions. The true movement is in the connections, in the space between, in the expansion happening all around you. Now consider the psychological mirror of this cosmic truth. The universe doesn't expand into nothing. It expands into itself. Your mind works similarly. Often we look outward for fulfillment, for clarity, for safety, and yet the only true expansion comes from within. When you feel stretched too thin, when you feel distant from those around you, remember that you are not empty. The growth you crave, the freedom you seek, doesn't arrive from beyond some horizon. It emerges as you stretch the spaces within yourself, as you allow your thoughts, your awareness, your compassion to expand. Let's return to Feynman for a moment, because his clarity is a balm for confusion. He would remind you, it is not about having a perfect mental picture, but about understanding the principles, the behaviors, the rules by which reality operates. You can feel lost when you try to visualize the universe's expansion as a simple trajectory. But if you step back and accept the principle that space itself is growing, you begin to see the pattern. Similarly, life does not always reveal its meaning in concrete images or linear narratives. It reveals itself in the relationships, the subtle dynamics, the push and pull of experiences that stretch your consciousness outward. And just as in physics, there are hidden forces at work in your emotional universe. You might not see them, but they move you, shape your trajectory, and influence the spaces between your choices and your outcomes. The people around you, the expectations you carry, the patterns of thought you inherit, they act like gravity, pulling and shaping the course of your inner expansion. Recognizing them is not always comfortable. It is not always easy. But when you see the invisible currents, you gain a kind of power, not control over everything, but the ability to navigate the expansion with intention. You may notice a subtle fear creeping in now, that feeling that the universe, and by extension your own life, is so vast that you could be lost. That fear is real, and it's valid. But consider this. In an expanding universe, no matter where you are, every point moves away from every other point. You are never truly isolated. The motion itself connects everything. In your life, even when people drift, even when circumstances pull you apart, you are still part of the unfolding fabric. You are still held within the web of space and time, within the web of relationships and choices, within the web of yourself. This is the quiet, profound lesson. The expansion is both liberating and demanding. Just as the cosmos cannot be pinned down to edges or containers, yourself cannot be confined by limiting beliefs or external pressures. Growth requires allowing space to stretch, allowing distance to exist without judgment, allowing complexity to unfold without the need for immediate resolution. And here lies the therapeutic insight. In relationships, in understanding abuse or manipulation, in confronting the patterns that make you shrink, recognizing the space you inhabit is not nothingness. It is a canvas, a dynamic field, a medium through which your own expansion occurs. And so, when you return to that night sky, when you feel the pull of your own tiny place in the grand scale of existence, remember, the universe is not disappearing into nothing. It is becoming more. And so are you. The distances you feel, the separations, the moments of loneliness, they are the expanding fabric of your inner universe. Each experience stretches you, carries you, and shapes the pattern of your growth. You are not small in spite of this vastness. You are intimately entwined with it. And if this reflection has stirred something in you, if you feel the pull to explore further, to anchor yourself in understanding, then consider subscribing. Engage with this channel not just to absorb ideas, but to explore your own inner cosmos. Because understanding the universe is, in a way, understanding yourself, and allowing yourself to expand, in space and in mind, is the most profound act of self-trust you can practice. As the galaxies drift apart, as the cosmic fabric stretches beyond comprehension, you are invited to stretch too, not recklessly, but intentionally, to explore without fear, to grow without needing a container, to trust the vastness both around and within you. And when you do, you begin to see the edges dissolve, the voids fill, the unseen forces reveal themselves, and a quiet clarity settles in. The universe is expanding, and so are you. Into no space and all space at once, into connection and understanding, into possibility and freedom. And in that expansion, you find your truth, that you are enough, that you are capable, that you are profoundly, wonderfully, expansively alive. You've felt it before, the quiet, almost unbearable sense that there's more out there than you can reach. That subtle gnawing in your chest when you stare at the sky at night, imagining the infinite. You might tell yourself it's curiosity, but underneath it is something deeper, the longing to understand where you belong in the vastness, to know that you are not adrift in nothing. That feeling is familiar to everyone who has ever paused and asked the impossible question. If the universe is expanding, what is it expanding into? It's natural to picture a cosmic edge, a place where stars stop, and beyond it, an infinite void waits. Your mind reaches for boundaries, for edges, because they give a sense of safety, of containment. But here's the first profound truth that Feynman made clear. There is no outside. Space itself is stretching. The galaxies are moving apart not because they are being flung into emptiness, but because the very fabric of reality is expanding. There is no container, no outside edge for the universe to push against. The expansion is happening within space, in the distances between galaxies, in the intervals that make up reality itself. You may feel a twinge of unease here. If the universe has no edge, what does that mean for you? How do you find your place in something with no outside, no boundaries? Your mind instinctively tries to create edges, labels, rules, boxes for your relationships, your emotions, your identity. You might cling to expectations, control the people around you, or set rigid boundaries with yourself. It feels safe. But in reality, those edges are illusions. True expansion happens in the spaces between, in the relationships, in the gaps, in the stretching that cannot be contained. Imagine for a moment a rubber balloon with dots drawn across its surface. As it inflates, every dot moves away from every other dot. There's no central dot, no edge to move into. The movement exists because the surface itself stretches. That is your universe, and in a way, it is your mind too. You expand not into nothingness, but into the space that exists between your perceptions, your emotions, and your connections. And just like the universe, your expansion can be both beautiful and disorienting. Now think about the psychological implications. The universe's expansion mirrors your inner life. When you feel stretched, when relationships pull you in different directions, when circumstances feel chaotic, it is easy to think that something is wrong with you, that you are too small, too fragile, too incomplete to keep up. But the expansion is not a threat, it is an invitation. Every moment of discomfort, every distance that grows between you and someone else is space for growth. Space to learn who you are, to understand your emotions, to practice compassion for yourself and others. Consider the unseen forces in your life, much like gravity shapes the motion of galaxies. Manipulative behaviors, toxic relationships, unspoken expectations, they act like invisible pulls, altering your trajectory. You may not notice them at first, and that is okay. Awareness comes slowly, like light traveling across the cosmos. But when you begin to see these patterns, you gain clarity. You understand that just because someone tries to confine you, to shrink the space you inhabit, does not mean you must comply. The universe itself does not stop expanding because of resistance. It continues. And so can you. Feynman would tell you that you don't need a perfect image to understand the principle. It is enough to see how it behaves, how it stretches, how it moves. Life operates in a similar way. You may not know the ultimate purpose of every challenge, every interaction, every period of loneliness, but you can observe the principles, how distance affects closeness, how tension can create growth, how space between people and ideas allows for transformation. Observing these patterns is not passive, it is active, it is empowering, it is the foundation for self-trust. And yet the fear remains. That sensation that everything is too vast, too infinite, and that you are too small, too fleeting to matter. It is real, it is valid. But let me offer a perspective. In an expanding universe, no matter where you are, everything moves apart together. Every galaxy, every particle, every fragment of matter drifts. Yet the pattern of expansion creates a cosmic order. In your life, even when you feel isolated, even when others drift, you are still connected. The expansion does not erase bonds, it transforms them, stretches them into something new, something resilient. Distance can be liberating when you understand it as part of the expansion. There is a hidden beauty in recognizing these spaces. In the stretches, the intervals, the distances, you find freedom. The same way the universe has no edge, you have no fixed limits. Your mind, your capacity to feel, your potential to grow. These are infinite in the same way. And just as the galaxies move apart, yet remain part of a unified cosmos, you too can navigate separation without losing connection. The tension between closeness and distance, between desire and fear, is the very texture of life. It teaches you, molds you, and allows you to expand into someone larger than the sum of your experiences. You may notice yourself thinking about past relationships, about moments where you felt constrained or manipulated. Perhaps you allowed someone's expectations to compress your emotional space, to shrink your sense of self. Or maybe you pushed others away, fearing that closeness would limit your freedom. These are universal dynamics, mirrored on a cosmic scale. Just as the universe expands without edges, your self-expansion requires you to release the false boundaries imposed by fear, guilt, or shame. It requires courage to trust that you can inhabit your space fully, without needing permission or containment. And here lies the profound lesson. The expansion is not random, but it is unbounded. Life, like the cosmos, cannot be pinned down. Control is an illusion. The real power comes from awareness, intention, and the ability to navigate the spaces between. When you see the forces at work, the gravitational pulls, the patterns of manipulation, the cycles of tension, you do not become helpless. You become conscious. You gain agency. You understand that your growth is not contingent on the permission of others, but on the deliberate choice to expand, to stretch, to move with the flow of life, rather than against it. Take a breath now. Feel the stretch of your own inner universe. Notice the edges dissolving, the spaces opening, the unseen currents guiding you. This is not emptiness. It is potential. It is connection. It is the medium through which you experience freedom. The same principle that governs galaxies governs your life. Expansion does not require an outside. Expansion is the act itself. The space between, the tension, the intervals, these are not obstacles. They are the very vehicle for growth. You are invited to see yourself as part of this expanding fabric, not as something separate, not as something inadequate. Your emotions, your thoughts, your experiences, they are all part of the stretching. They carry you, shape you, and reveal the unseen patterns that allow for transformation. The universe's expansion becomes a mirror for your own, a reminder that every moment of stretching, every period of distance or discomfort is an invitation to greater awareness, resilience, and self-trust. And in this reflection lies empowerment. You are not defined by your limitations. You are not constrained by manipulation, by fear, by the imagined edges of your circumstances. Just as the universe expands into itself, you expand into your potential. Every choice, every observation, every act of conscious presence adds to the distance that creates your growth. Every pause, every breath, every acknowledgement of your inner space becomes an act of courage. So when you next look into the night sky, when the vastness presses on you, remember, the universe is not disappearing into nothing. It is becoming more, and you, in your own way, are becoming more too. You are part of the unfolding, stretching fabric of reality. You are invited to stretch with it, to explore, to expand, to trust yourself. The emptiness you feared is not empty. It is full of potential, full of connection, full of you. And in that recognition, you find the quiet, unshakable clarity that everything you need to navigate your life already exists within you. If this reflection has moved you, if you feel the pull to explore further, to understand yourself and your universe more deeply, then stay here with us. Subscribe, engage. Let this channel be a space where you can witness the expansion of ideas and emotions alike, because the journey to understand the cosmos is inseparable from the journey to understand yourself. And when you embrace the expansion, when you trust the movement, you find not fear, but freedom, not limitation, but connection, not emptiness, but infinite potential. And so you move forward. With each breath, each observation, each act of awareness, you expand. Into the spaces between, into the unseen forces, into the stretching fabric of your life. And in that expansion, you are not lost. You are alive, fully, expansively, courageously alive.